Hi everyone, and welcome to week 11 of our Government 2306 Texas State and Local Government class. In this lesson, we will be taking a look at what is probably the most important and certainly the most visible aspects of government in Texas, and that is local governments. Now this week we will explain the importance, the role, and the structure of county governments in Texas. Then we will describe the major types of city government in Texas. And third, we will examine the role of special districts in Texas government. And lastly, but certainly not least in importance, we will examine financial problems that are facing local governments today. Okay, let's get started. Texas has more than 4,800 general purpose governments that are spread out over 254 counties. And this is the most in the nation, and it's why local government institutions play such a major role in Texas. To quote the late Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, all politics is local. Truer words were never spoken. No matter whether you are looking at the top levels of American government, including the President and Congress, or any of the myriad of bureaucratic agencies at either the federal or state level, the policies and the laws of the nation and the state must be implemented and enforced. And this is generally going to happen at the local level. So what are the functions of county government in Texas? County governments are responsible for the construction and maintenance of county roads and bridges, for law enforcement, for dispute resolution and courts, for record keeping, and administration of social services. Whether it's the administration of the court system in Texas, the registration of your vehicles and deeds for land or houses, even birth, death, and marriage certificates and licenses, all of these are taken care of at the county level. County offices include county attorney, the district attorney, the county clerk, the district clerk, the county tax assessor collector, and the county auditor, and each of these impact our lives on a daily basis without our even realizing it. In Texas, as we have discussed in our last lesson, each county has a statutory county court, which is more of an administrative body that is overseen by a county judge. This judge is almost like a mayor of a county. Since each of the Texas counties varies in size and geographic distribution, some of the counties have fewer people but cover large territories, while others have millions of residents and may cover a much smaller area. Because of this, some of the counties find themselves with more funds than others, and as the main way that they are funded is through property and sales taxes, this is a problem. But even the smallest county must provide basic services like law enforcement, and this is why some counties find it difficult to function financially. Remember also that county officials are mostly accountable only through the election process. If not at the ballot, it can be very difficult to remove a county official who has gone rogue by committing misdeeds or who cannot perform the duties of their office. Now, as of 2010, in the census that we had last, there are over 1,200 municipalities in Texas, which range in size from 27 residents in Coral City, Texas, to nearly 2.1 million in Houston. Municipalities are broken into two categories. One is the general rule, meaning that they operate under a set of laws and regulations by the state. The other is home rule, meaning the municipality, or the city as we generally call them, can create its own laws and regulations. And of course, this is limited by state and federal law as well. There are three types of home rule cities. First is the mayor-council form, where mayor and members are elected, and the mayor generally acts as the chief executive of the city. The second is the commissioners form, where a group of people are elected to office and hold different responsibilities like police, fire, taxation, operations, airport, zoning, and so forth. This is rare. Third is the council manager form, which has become most prevalent and popular in Texas. In this form of city government, the mayor acts in a much more restricted role, and a professional city manager who is employed by the city council runs the day-to-day operations of the city while reporting to the council. Your text discusses 5 major cities around the state. These include Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Austin, and El Paso. Now, each of these cities has a different culture, different geographic and logistical needs, and of course, different tax bases. Special districts are mini governments which are created by statute, and they usually are created through an amendment to the Texas Constitution. These include school districts, which have tended to be the most common examples, non-school special districts like municipal districts, water, gas, electric, hospital districts, even community college districts. Each of these districts has one thing in common. They can and do tax you through property taxes. Each becomes a part of our yearly property tax bill. Now, in order to help all of the governmental entities in Texas to coordinate their services and to operate efficiently, Texas has several regional councils of government which promote coordination and planning across all of the governments within the geographic area, including the special districts. Now let's talk about financial issues that tend to be major liabilities that face local governments in Texas. One way that a county or a city can build new facilities or provide quality of life or constitutional services, like a county jail, is through capital appreciation bonds, which are long-term and high-interest bonds that defer payments until the end when the government entity must pay both interest and principal. Now, when the bond reaches maturity, this can be 30 years in the future, and this makes it very tempting to issue these types of bonds. But down the line, somebody has to pay. Of course, it doesn't matter who the elected officials, to the elected officials that are there, because they will be retired or dead before the public realizes what they've done. Another financial burden that is impacting many cities and counties across the state is local government pension plans, which cover nearly 184,000 people across the state and have net assets of over $28 billion. But not all of these pension plans are financially sound, and this means that they may not have enough money to fund the retirement of all of those who may depend on them in the future. Okay, that's what's covered in the textbook. So now let's look at what is required of you this week as far as work. First, you will have discussion question number 10 to contend with. This deals with the issue of unfunded mandates, and these are requirements for providing services where neither the federal government nor the state provides sufficient funding to the local government to reimburse them. This would include such things as providing the jail, the sheriff's services to areas outside of major cities, as well as things like providing defense attorneys to those who can't afford them in criminal cases, and hospital treatment to those who are uninsured and can't afford to pay for county hospital services. Your job will be to read an article that I've provided entitled "Who's Going to Pay for All of This?", which will go deeper into the problem of unfunded mandates and county services in Texas. After reading the article, you should address 3 questions in your post. First, in what ways do unfunded mandates pass the buck to local, county, and municipal governments? Second, which services in particular add the most cost to counties and municipalities in Texas by way of unfunded mandates, and why these particular services? Third, what solution would you suggest in order to relieve the financial burden of unfunded mandates? Remember that in Texas, raising taxes is generally the last option you want to consider, and counties in particular are prohibited or limited by law and the state constitution from raising taxes, even to cover large unfunded mandates such as these that are discussed in the article. Next will be your position paper number 5, which will address the Duranguito neighborhood of South El Paso and how its residents have been fighting efforts by the city to build a new arena next to the ballpark downtown. Specifically, you are going to be asked to address the following question in a 1-page position paper. Given the protest of some local residents and historians, should the city proceed with the building of the proposed multipurpose arena at the Duranguito site, or should it take public criticism and protests into account and abandon the site for another? You want to consider the point of view of the protesters, the citizens who voted for the arena in the first place, and the best interests of the city as a whole as you develop and defend your position. Okay, that will just about cover things for this week. And as always, if you have any questions, please email me or call me. And of course, you can address them before or after class if that's what you wish to do. I want you to have a great week, everybody, and I will see you in class or online.